Rabbi believes, and I believe the Lubavitcher Rebbe taught, that, for example, the sun revolves around the earth. There's also the issue of the scientists say the earth is, I think, 6 billion years old, but according to the rabbis, the earth is 5,776 years old. How do we reconcile religion with accepted scientific principles?
Mrs. Tzukernik.
You know, there's a question in Ethics of Our Fathers, which I'm addressing the point of the age of the earth first, and then maybe the revolution of the solar bodies around each other. So the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos chapter 5 of Ethics of Our Fathers, it says the world was created with 10 sayings, and couldn't God do it with one saying? At some level, what the Mishnah is saying, why did it take so long? See, they also have a question, but it's a different question from yours. We don't understand how could God make the world in 6 days, because we project ourselves onto God. Really, we are believing in a glorified self-image. It's very hard for us to let go of that and experience something completely beyond ourselves. So when we come at science with that perspective, you can let go a little bit of the attachment to a theory. And they are theories, and there have been many times that theories have shifted and changed. In fact, my understanding of contemporary science is that it supports Torah's understanding of the metaphysics, because science may speak about physical, but Torah is speaking about something metaphysical, that they actually support each other more and more. My understanding of what the Rebbe said about the revolution of heavenly spheres is that according to Einstein's theory of relativity, when two things are in perpetual motion, it's impossible to identify which one is moving against the other. So if something is stationary and then you can say how something's moving. But we don't really know.
Thank you very much. Rabbi Jacobson?
I would add, I think a very important point has to be made whenever this question is addressed, is that if one does not have, God forbid, a Torah, or God for that matter, then all we have to rely on are human theories, scientific theories, and yes, so there is very good, strong arguments to be made toward many of the scientific theories that exist today, and regarding the age of the universe, regarding the celestial bodies and how the movement and their cycles and so on, because that's what we rely on. But as Karl Popper, the great philosopher of science, said, that a scientific theory, by definition, not only has to be proven, but has to also be able to be disproven. So therefore, he uses this example, that God exists is not a scientific statement because no one can disprove it. No one can disprove it. Not because you can't prove it, you can't disprove it. However, when you add into the equation that in addition to the scientific inquiry, you also have a God, and you have a God that gave a Torah. And that's an axiom. I'm not getting down to a discussion whether one accepts that or not. But if you do accept that, there are certain truths that comes with. That God indeed conveys to us how He created the universe. He conveys to us when He created it. And in fact, if you were right now in the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve, on day 1, when Adam and Eve entered the world, which is actually day 6 of creation, you could have had that debate as well, because they came into a mature universe. There were stars in the sky, and we know stars are light years away. There were grown trees, and we know it takes a tree to grow many years. There were chickens, not just eggs. So the chicken and the egg question is resolved, that God created both, an egg and a chicken. It was a mature universe in motion. So if you don't have a God telling you anything, then the only thing you have is scientific theory, and therefore that's fine. You come up with whatever best theory you have, and then you go with that. But we do have now an additional insight, and that comes from God through the Torah. That's the axiom. As I said, you could argue about that axiom, but that's the axiom, and as such, it does affect how we look at it. So there's no proof that the world is 5,776 years, because you're not basing it purely on proof. You're basing it on what we were told. It's not a contradiction to science, because at the end of the day, firstly, God created science and science didn't create God. And secondly, God created a mature universe. Obviously, this in itself needs much more discussion, and there are good books on this topic, and I would refer you to those as well.
What did you think about this video? Comment below and click subscribe for more videos like this.